Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. We are obviously a big fan of how-to webinars because this is our third how-to in a series of safety webinars that we've hosted this summer. I know a lot of people on this call today joined us in June when we talked about how to reduce the risk of a nuclear verdict. And again, were with us last month when we introduced our new CSA service and how to create a culture of safety with CSA and 10th Street. So if you missed those, don't worry. You can catch those on our events page of our website at 10thstreet.com/events. But today we're going to go on and continue on that safety focused path. And we're going to show you how you can make big boosts in driver performance, CSA scores, and expanding the knowledge and experience of your driver base, all to help you really create that culture of safety that you want. So just by making a few minor tweaks to your processes by injecting training at key touch points of a driver's life cycle. So if I didn't say it already, welcome to August's safety-centric webinar, How to Improve Driver Performance Through Targeted Training. Thanks so much for joining us. We are glad you are here. My name's Leah Kelly. I'm here with Marilyn Serber, one of our favorite transportation advisors here at 10th Street, and she's going to cover the following agenda here. We're going to talk about pre-hire training to help you in the engagement and onboarding processes. We're talking about post-hire training to help you improve your CSA scores and in driver management. There's driver-initiated training for just improved performance and adding experience onto your drivers that your drivers can just take by themselves on their own. We're going to show you what it looks like in the Express dashboard and what the driver sees on his side and driver pulse on his mobile device. We're going to give you a sheet of all of our entire library of 90 plus titles that we're adding to all the time. In fact, I just updated it before we could log on to this call and added 2 more. So it's just constantly growing at a pretty fast rate. And then we're going to answer all of your questions at the end. So I wanted to remind you, the webinar is going to be recorded. It's going to be sent to you tomorrow at the email address that you registered with. And if you do have questions, please go ahead and ask them while you're thinking about them, and then we'll make sure to get to them at the end of the webinar. So that way you don't forget. You can just plug them right into that questions box on your GoToWebinar panel. Okie dokie, Marilyn, whenever you are ready, here you go.
I am ready. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. As Leah said, this is the third one of our safety-centric webinars, and we do spend a lot of time at 10th Street talking about the life cycle of a driver and making sure that we have solutions for our clients and prospects to be able to manage the entire life cycle of a driver. Today, we're going to specifically talk about training and how creating consistent touch points throughout the life cycle of a driver can help strengthen your driver training program, improve driver performance, and help you have clear processes and data to help protect yourself in any type of lawsuit that you might have or audit that you might have. So I'm really excited to talk about this today. Next slide, please, Leah. So the life cycle of a driver starts with the recruiting process. And so during the recruiting process is a good time to measure driver engagement by assigning pre-hire training. These pre-hire topics that you can assign during the recruiting process or after you've scheduled a driver for orientation are great. Is a great time to introduce them to your company, to introduce them to just basic transportation topics such as CSA or hours of service, and get them acclimated to training and the way that your company is going to deliver training from the very beginning in the recruiting process. That helps you put your best foot forward. It helps you start the driver's career with your company with safety in mind, and so they know that they are being hired by a company that cares about training, that cares about drivers, and that cares about safety. And it really creates that consistency. And it also gives you the opportunity to introduce drivers to material that you're going to show them again, likely, because we know in adult learning that repetition is key. And so showing them something during the recruiting process and the pre-hire training process is a great way to get it in front of them right out of the gate, so that when you show it again later, you're just reinforcing concepts and it's not the first time that they've seen something. We know that that is a proven way to help drivers perform better, is to continue to show them the same topics. We can't just show it to them once and then they remember it forever, unfortunately. What's really great about our training program and how we can assign training is that there's a ton of automation that we have built into our system. So that burden of assigning training can be taken off of your recruiters or somebody in your orientation or safety department by creating tags or statuses that initiate that training. Specifically right now, during times of a lot of distance learning and a lot of remote onboarding, we have a lot of clients that have been really successful with launching pre-hire orientation packages to help get drivers onboarded remotely. Next slide, Leah. So after a driver goes through the recruiting process and they go through their pre-hire orientation training, and then you might even reinforce some of the same videos or training during orientation or different subsets of orientation topics, then you have your post-hire training that you need to do, which is a lot of times mostly safety training, company policy training, just general industry training. And we have several ways for you to be able to do that. We're really excited about our new product, our CSA product that we just launched last month, that allows our carriers to get real-time updates from FMCSA in their dashboard and act accordingly. Through our CSA infraction to action product, you can actually use that same automation that we were just talking about from the pre-hire process. You can use that in the safety process as well. And what that means is that when a driver gets a violation, gets an inspection, and it hits the FMCSA, and so it shows up in your dashboard from CSA, training can automatically be assigned. And so what that means is they got a speeding ticket for going 5 miles per hour over. When that hits your dashboard, then automatically a speed management training class is going to be assigned to that driver. And then the driver is going to get a notification, which we're going to show you later what it looks like for the driver, and they're going to complete that training. You're going to be notified when the training was completed, and it's going to log a certificate on the company's behalf in the driver's file. And so it really creates that touch point. It creates that automation. We have 700 titles or 700 violations, excuse me, that are mapped to one of our 90 titles that we have in our training library. And so you don't have to worry about that. And so when we talk about how to create those touch points and how to improve driver performance, again, I'm going to say we know consistency and repetition are key. And so every single time a driver gets a violation with this automation, they're going to get some type of training. Now, if you say, I want to assign my own training or my own documents, then you can also do that and you can map it, but put the automation in place, because that's what creates the consistency and making sure it's done every time, and also making sure that it's documented every time. And so we get to that place where we say, okay, we know all of our data is in this dashboard. We know that it's here, we know that these things are happening, and we have the processes in place to make sure that we track it. And we also know that you might need to do some training. Maybe you have quarterly safety topics. And so, for example, maybe in October, you want to assign your whole fleet winter driving, for example. You have the ability to do that with any safety topics that you have. You can assign them on a quarterly basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, whatever that looks like for your company. But it again streamlines it for you. You have the ability to assign it in bulk, so you're not going through hundreds of drivers' files and trying to assign training. And then again, the benefit of that is it tracks that training. It gives you notifications. You can customize the notifications you want, but if you say, okay, I know you want to know when the driver has completed the training, it'll notify you. And then again, we have the certificate, so it's going to put a certificate in that driver's file. So if anybody asks, okay, well, did you ever train your drivers on winter driving? You're really easily able to show your insurance company or an auditor or an attorney, here is all the training that I've given my drivers. Also, we know that all training doesn't happen online. There's a lot of value for in-person training. And so if you're doing in-person safety meetings or in-person orientation sessions that you want to log, you can still track it in 10 Street. And again, we have a bulk attendance feature that allows you to bulk register it for a group of drivers all at one time. And so any training that you do along the way, you can document it in 10 Street, and you can really set up a lot of automation to take the heavy lifting off of your team's plate so that they can focus on doing that in-person training and coaching the exceptions and the more serious incidents. Next slide, please, Leah. So in addition, what's really cool and new is the ability for drivers to initiate their own training through the Pulse app. So drivers that have Driver Pulse app have access to our entire training library at any time that they want to go out and take some of that training, which really helps drivers. It helps all of us in our industry. It helps drivers be safer when they're taking training on their own. It helps them be more informed and better drivers for your company when they come to work for you. And so it's really, really cool. They can go in, they can take that training, and then they can push the training to you. We also know that you need to have some control over that. So you as a carrier can decide how you want to receive that training, meaning that if you want to say, okay, I only want to accept this training as valid from a driver if they've completed it in the last 90 days. Well, you have the ability to set those parameters yourself. And so then when you receive those documents, if it's within the time frame that you've designated it as acceptable, then it will automatically mark that course as complete when you assign it to a driver that's already completed it on his own or her own. And so this is a really cool function. With driver tasks, drivers it's really easy for them to see what's available, they can complete it, and then they can get it over to you. So that is just really cool. I don't have any questions here yet in our questions. So I am going to go ahead and go into our system and do a demo. Leah, if you want to pass control over to me.
Yes, I'm passing it right now. Let me see. Okay, you can see a little pop-up on your screen.
All right, I got it. Okay, so here we are. Here we are on our home page of our dashboard. We're going to go into our work list where a lot of you guys probably spend a lot of time and you're very familiar with. You've got your application from your driver. You're ready to schedule them for orientation. So let's go into the processes. And I just want to show you how easy it is via 10 Street if you don't have automation in place to assign some of these things to your drivers. So you're going to add a process, you're going to select the process, and then you determine based on what things that you are going to ask drivers for, what's going to be in this list. So we're going to go to schedule communications. And then we want to assign the driver's legal plan form. Let's just say you want to have your drivers fill that out. You're going to assign a course due date. You have an expiration date. And here's where you can set up some of the notifications to say, okay, you want to notify the trainee when they're assigned this training. And then you want to notify upon enrollment, and you want to also notify them on complete. So, and you could also notify yourself. So you can set up all of those things so that you know what's happening. And the way that the driver is notified is if they have the Driver Pulse app, it's going to send them a notification in Pulse. If they have opted into texting, they can get text notifications. If not, they can get email notifications. So there's definitely ways for drivers to access this. We try to get it in front of them in every way that we have to communicate with them, so you don't have to worry about that. So you finish that, and then that is what initiates that process to the driver. So really any process or action that you want to initiate with the driver, that's where you're going to go, and you're going to add the process, and you select here, what you want to assign to them. Very, very simple. And when we talk about doing automation, I hope everybody's familiar with statuses and tags. Maybe some of you guys aren't, but you can put, create the status that you want to say, okay, scheduled for orientation.
Marilyn,
You have automation.
we lost you. There you are. Okay, we lost you for the last about 10 seconds. Just the audio.
Oh. Okay, sorry, I'll just repeat that. So what I was just saying was, with the automation on the statuses and tags, it cuts this part out for you. And so even though it's really simple, and there are definitely times where you're going to need to go in and do things ad hoc or on the fly to get it to drivers, creating that automation cuts this part out for you. So the more automation you can put into your process, the better, because again, that goes back to that consistency, and that's where you really start to see the needle moved, because you've done the same thing with your drivers over and over and over again when you said you were going to do it upon these events. And so that's how you start to see drivers improve. Okay. So the other pieces that we talked about, functionality that we have, I just want to show you guys here on our checklist. So as you are in the process of getting your driver trained throughout their life cycle, you're always going to be able to see here what they have pending and what they have completed. So you might have an HR training checklist, or you might have a safety checklist. Everything is customizable. You can decide based on your processes that we can help you put in place what the checklist needs to be. And then you decide what's on that checklist. So if we move it to onboarding, you can see here's what recruiting is responsible for. Here's what the processing department or compliance department is responsible for. You see the driver responsibilities. And then here you also see onboarding. So maybe your safety person or orientation instructor. You see here these company responsibilities. And so you can see within these checklists at a glance what's complete and what's not complete. And this helps you improve your performance because you don't miss anything. It's very easy. You see that it's happened. And again, you're creating that consistency and that strong safety culture by reinforcing all of these things. In our driver task view is kind of another way that you can see what you've assigned to drivers. And so you can also see all the tasks that they have. So these are training content that's been assigned to them. What's really cool about this is you can see what their progress is. So if you have a driver that hasn't completed his defensive driving course, you can say, oh, well, he logged in, he completed 40% of it, or he hasn't logged in at all, he hasn't even done any of it. So it kind of helps you measure the engagement of your driver and know where they are in their training process. You can also see their document status. You can request documents. And again, this can be throughout the entire life cycle of a driver. So we know you're getting the social security card and their CDL at the beginning of when you hire them, but there's also documents that you might need from them throughout the life cycle, and you can request them. Also forms, the same thing. There's definitely new hire paperwork that you have a driver fill out, but there may be paperwork that you need to assign them later on down the road or sign off on a policy, and that can all be done through the system. Driver management, we're getting to the good stuff. So this is really cool. In driver management, you can really manage any activity, if you will, that a driver has. And the same infraction to action automation can be applied here. So these headers here you can customize this how you need it to be customized. This says 7-day survey, but if you have different surveys or different touch points that you would want to build in, like an orientation survey, for example, that can be here. You can track issues if a driver has an issue. Incidents and accidents here. We also have clients that are using these to track workers' comp and those types of injuries, and you have violations. So let's say we have add new. Move this over. So you can see here, Hannah got a ticket. You're going to put in today. We're going to do speeding in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And then driver points is if you want to assign a point value, essentially like a ranking that you wanted to assign to violations and accidents, then you can assign points for that. So if we wanted to say that speeding ticket was 4 points and Hannah's hire date was August 1st. So you're doing this, you're signing, legally binding, save. You get to preview it, making sure, okay, yes, that's right, I didn't mistype anything, finish, and you're done. And so that's how easy you can log violations in the system. And so again, if you put that automation in place, you can have training automatically assigned when you enter those violations. And so then you start to see, again, that consistency of training or follow-up being done in real time when a violation is happening. So whether you choose to do that with CSA and driver management, you can do that, and it creates the whole picture for your safety follow-up and safety training. This is really cool. All right, now let's look at CSA. So here's our new CSA tool, which shows really, clearly on the homepage of CSA, you can see what your score is. You can see each basic category and how you're performing in each category. And then you can drill down into each basic and see where you are. You can pick which time frame you want to see, if you want to see 24 months, or if you just want to see the last month. You have control over that so that you can see. That's the details. You can also see this combined graph. So you can see your event details, your recent inspection, click into the inspection and see what the detail of that was. There was no violations, that's good. Here's a description. So in this case, operating a CMV with more than one driver's license. If this violation was logged in your dashboard and you had the automation set up with infraction to action, this driver would automatically, Andy here, would automatically receive training on driver qualification so that they would know, hey, buddy, you're not supposed to have 2 driver's licenses. So it's really simple here to see what's going on and kind of measure where you are. Let's go in here in our tools, because you get to see for your company, what are your most common violations? So this is where you might want to do some bulk training with your entire fleet. If you know that you are having a lot of failure to obey traffic control devices, you might just say, hey, I'm going to get out in front of this. So I'm going to go ahead and assign my entire fleet our proper traffic control device training video. And then you're ahead of it, you've sent it to all of your drivers, and then they can watch it. The same thing with following too close. So this helps you see what's happening in your fleet and get ahead of it to improve your driver performance. You can also see who your top offenders are so that you can route them in for coaching or assign them specific coaching or training. And you can see who your cleanest drivers are and the clean inspections in case you have some type of reward program for them. And you can also see your unmatched drivers. So you can see really quickly and easily if any driver has been given a violation that should not be associated with your DOT number so that you can report that through DataQ. So just a ton of stuff here that helps you manage your safety process, reach drivers, and train drivers throughout all of these touch points. So I do want to show you guys now how you can set up the parameters in pulse control for the driver training. So here's pulse control. Go down here. So right here, allow driver to share documents. And this is count training shared by the driver as valid when completed within the last, and then you select here. And we have 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, and those are just our standard time periods that we have so far. The other thing I wanted to show you guys here is how you can view the training content that's available. Oh, let me go back and do that again. If you go here in tools and you go to your manage course class, here is if you wanted to search a schedule. And if you click my courses, this is where you'll see what's already configured in your dashboard so that you would know. And then you can go to available courses. And this is where you can see all of the different training content that we have. We have done some recommended bundles, if you will, or packets of training content. If you're interested in just assigning everything on cargo securement, you can see these are all the videos that we have that address any type of cargo securement. So you can add these to my courses, and you have the ability to do that on your own and just say add to my courses, and then those are going to be available in your process drop-down box so that you can assign them to your drivers. And then you can work with your account manager to create automation if you want those to go out at a certain time period. You can also preview all the courses from this view by just clicking play. You can get a general overview here. You can see how long is it, how many sections does it have, and kind of get an idea. I'm gonna go through here so you can see we have a lot of content, and we're going to go into a course and show you here in a few minutes. Let's look at defensive driving. So if we click 10th Street Training Preview, maybe here it comes. What I love about our training is that it was all created with the driver in mind, meaning first, it's mobile first. So we know that drivers complete their training most of the time from a mobile device and on the road. So all of our content was designed to be completed that way. And so from an ease of use standpoint, drivers are able to complete it on their phone just fine. It's also interactive and kind of requires the driver to engage with the content all throughout the training process.
What is defensive driving? The National Safety Council defines defensive driving as driving to save lives, time, and money, in spite of all the conditions around you and the actions of others. What actions can we anticipate from others? Distractions. Driving defensively requires you to anticipate potentially distracted drivers sharing the roadway with you. Changing lanes. Depending on the number of lanes on the roadway, drivers should anticipate others changing lanes all around them. Speeding. Anticipating speeding from other drivers helps you prepare to properly space your vehicle from others, as well as react timely to sudden actions from others.
So as you can see, the driver has to click through each circle here to get through the course before they can click continue. and then it's going to take you to a quiz. And so you can see over here on the left, every few minutes, the driver is going to have a quiz. So not just are they having to engage with the content while they're receiving it, they're also going to have a quiz every couple of minutes. So the National Safety Council defines safe driving as driving to save lives, time, and money in spite of the conditions around you and the actions of others. Click submit. That was correct. And so we can go on to the next section. So defensive driving is everyone's responsibility. Let's just go through. I will spare you guys hearing more of my voice right now. But if we go through this and we go to the next quiz, which of the following actions should a driver anticipate from other drivers? Cell phone usage, careless lane changes, and let's try that. Oh, that was right. But if we, let's take it again. If we get the quiz wrong, then you have to take it again. It will not allow you to move on till the next section until you have gotten the quiz correct. So, and that's how you get through each section. So we're going to pick. And then you can continue. So you can see, and all of our courses look like this. We're going to look at that library so that you can see all the courses that are available. As Leah said, we're adding new ones all the time, but the content is all created to be interactive, mobile first, to engage drivers and help them become more informed and better trained. I'm going to exit the course here. So here you go. So all of this stuff is here. It's that easy for you to preview training content, add it to your courses just in real time here, or work with your account manager to customize what content you want to assign when. Excuse me. The last tool I want to show you in here is our bulk attendance. So if you go to your search button, there's lots of different things that you can do here. From our action or search, we're going to select bulk attendance. We've got the date. We're going to do attend orientation, yes. Select bulk attendance. Search here. Let's pick a start date here. And we go. And then it will assign the drivers with that date. The orientation, like if you said, yes, they attended, we're down here. Sorry, there's lots of, yeah. You can pick which tag and it'll apply it to that driver or the bulk drivers. So it's really that simple to do that. I also want to show you guys what it looks like for the driver. So we're going to go take a moment and go into driver pulse. And we're here in Elizabeth's profile. And you can see here, 10th Street demo. Let's look at Elizabeth's tasks. Nice security. So you can see here are the tasks that Elizabeth has been assigned. So confirmation and tele-app, the W-4 form, driver statement of on-duty hours, a survey, a training course, and she needs to upload her CDL. So she logs in and she can easily see what her tasks are. So let's look at the training course. This is what it looks like for the driver in Pulse. So she's already done some of it. And so it's showing her quiz results. lesson 1. Let's go on to the next section. So it remembered where we were in here. And this is the driver's experience. This is their app. This is what it looks like. So as you can see, very easy for the driver, very self-explanatory. They can clearly see what's assigned to them. They know what tasks they need to do. Show you what the documents look like as well once it reloads. So let's click on this W4 form. Let's go in here to our documents. Trying to get to it, it's not loading. I'm gonna upload our CDL. If you go home, okay, I'm gonna reload this pulse here because it's moving a little bit slow there. There we go. Okay, now let's try to go home. And this is what the home page looks like for a driver. So they can see their documents that they've already uploaded. So if they have their CDL already in here, then it's already stored for them. So the driver can send it to you, the carrier, really easily from here. And they can also connect with other drivers. They can go to FMCSA and register for the clearinghouse. And then they can also, here's the training where the driver can access it on their own. They can see all the different courses here. They can say, okay, I want to take this bridges and overpasses course, and then they will take the training. It'll launch for them, and then they can send it to you. So this is really cool. They can also see their activity and what's happened. Here's the notifications. So as a driver, as you're requesting things from drivers, know that they're going to receive these notifications each time. So they'll get it, and then they can follow it. So you can see all of that here. So it's really kind of cool to see what the driver sees and know that it's a really clear view for them. It's easy to use, and they can do it all from their phone. And so from a training standpoint, being able to communicate with your drivers wherever they are in real time on their mobile device and allow them to handle their business and get what they need to get completed for you is really cool. And they can do it in an easy way. It's easy for them to get logged in, and it's a lot of drivers are already familiar with Pulse because that's how they're applying for jobs. 130,000 drivers a month are using Pulse to apply for jobs. And so one of the biggest barriers to having drivers complete training is just getting them to log into the system and complete the training. And that's another benefit of the Driver Pulse platform is so many drivers already know Pulse. And so asking them to go log into Pulse to complete training is not as hard of an ask as maybe some asking them to go somewhere else. All right, so now we are going to exit our demo here, and we're going to go back to the slideshow and talk a little bit more about training. So Leah.
Yes, you pass back controls, and I'll grab it.
Pass back control to you.
Thank you. There it is. Okay, looks like you're all seeing the right screen. And this is, more in our training library.
Yeah, great. So As we've kind of mentioned throughout this webinar, is that we do have our own proprietary training library that has 90 titles now. As Liam mentioned, we're adding titles every day. And if you have suggestions or titles that you would like to see as you're adopting this content, or you are looking at adopting the content, if we only have that one title that you need, please do not hesitate to reach out to me or your advisor and let them know what that title is, because we are creating content in real time every week. So it's great. As you were able to see in the demo of the training content, the audio, it's very interactive and it's visually pleasing, if you will. And there's a lot of testing formats and a lot of different engagement. All of our training comes with a certificate. So again, if you think about the life cycle of a driver, and how you're training them and you're creating that consistency and you're creating that repetition, they're going to get certificates for each class that they complete. You can preview all of the available training and you can manage the bundles yourself, which is really cool, so that you can turn things on and off in real time. We just also launched our partnership with Truckers Against Trafficking, so we're really excited about that. All drivers are able to take the Truckers Against Trafficking, get the approved training certificate for that. That will also show up in their driver pulse. And so if they live in a state that it's required to do that Truckers Against Trafficking training, either before they get their CDL or to renew their CDL, then that certificate will be available for them on their phone, so they can use that. If you require it as a company, your drivers can access that through our training library. We have also included a attached PDF with all of our titles, so please don't forget to download that. Next slide, Leah. So as we have discussed today, there is a lot of work and a lot of processes available that go into making sure that you have continuing driver education, and there's a lot of benefits to putting those processes in place. It creates transparency into performance and training history. What I also love about 10 Street is you get to see that performance history and training history all in one place. You're not having to go to 2 or 3 different systems to try to compile the driver's training history. That leads you to a stronger defense against nuclear verdicts. You know, the plaintiff's attorneys cannot poke as many holes in your defense when the more complete it is and the more consistent it is and the more repetitious it is. And so being able to show all of those things helps you. It also, consistency is going to help lead to fewer accidents and incidents, and which in turn is improved CSA scores. All of these things help you create a strong culture of safety from the very beginning of a driver's experience with your company. And we know that a good onboarding experience increases retention. And we also know that investing in your drivers and the more drivers feel valued increases your retention. So all signs kind of point to the better and more consistent training program you can have, the better it's going to be for your fleet. And 10 Street is excited to have the solutions to help you do this. Next slide, please, Leah.
Whoops. Take.
So our safety services, we went through a lot today. So here's just kind of a quick bulleted list of what we have that can help you put these processes in place. We have checklists, clearinghouse, PSP and DQF. We have our training content library. Document assignment and storage, what we showed you, you have the ability to store your driver docs and request driver docs, accident and violation management, bulk attendance, bulk training enrollment, annual MVR monitoring, annual clearinghouse reports. We have our CSA integration, and then the automated workflow, which really is kind of a game changer in my opinion, when you think about automating that follow-up for your safety department to make sure that your drivers are getting trained every single time they need to be trained. So that concludes our portion of the program. I again want to remind you guys about the handout here, and I'm going to go here and look at the questions and see what kind of questions we have here.
We've got some great questions. I can read them for you. And then we can, because we've got some really good ones here. So I'm super excited to get to these questions. I know you guys have stayed with us, so we appreciate it. We did cover a lot, like Marilyn said, and it was all just really, it's all just great stuff. We just couldn't wait to show you everything that we have to offer. So how do you remind, here's our first question, how do you remind those to complete pending training when they don't initially get it done?
So you can create reminders and say, we want to remind them every 7 days if it's not completed, or if it's not completed after 30 days, depending on what the threshold is in your company. But you can create those automatic reminders that go out to with each assignment.
Yeah, it's kind of like a little drip campaign. So it will remind drivers if they haven't completed it, it will continue to remind them until they do. And you can also reach out as well if you'd like to interact, inject a person, an actual personal phone call. You can put that in your kind of sequence too. Okay, so if a training is sent to a driver for a pre-tip and there's a pre-trip and there's multiple line items that could correspond to needing this pre-trip training, will it duplicate the training? So will it show 2 instances of that training?
So if there's multiple violations, it's going to assign multiple trainings. So if they had a pre-trip,
I'm sorry, Marilyn, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, so if they had, if there was something with pre-trip that resulted in 2 things that needed to be done, then it is going to assign both of those things, but it's not going to duplicate the same thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it will just show it one time. It will recognize that it's already assigned to that driver and say something else, some other process comes along and tries to assign the same training. It will just say, oh, they already have it assigned, and it will not duplicate it. Okay. When selecting the assignments, can these be video trainings as well? Can they be company videos? Or are we strictly limited to using the videos in 10th Street?
That's a great question. And no, we can host your content for you. So if you have company specific or industry specific training content that is yours, we can host that and we can apply it to that infraction to action as well. If you have vendors that you work with, like an insurance company or a truck manufacturer, and you want to assign any of their training, we can host that for you. If it's a third party's content, then we do have to have written consent, but we can work with you to get that all straightened out. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. If you schedule something but you want to delete it, can you do that?
Yes.
Yes.
You can
how many total trainings, I love this question, how many total trainings are already in the system?
We have 90 classes, right now, and we are adding around 5 per week. And then from a mapping standpoint, what's embedded from an automation standpoint is 700 violations.
Cool. And so, Marilyn, what about a driver who's uploaded into 10th Street from a paper DQF file? How do they access this training?
A paper DQF file. So if they're in your system and you assign something to them, they can access it just from any web browser. So if they don't have Driver Pulse and you assign it to them, they can go to the web browser and follow the link from their email and do it there.
Okay, and then here's a question about, is there a way to preview the training, which I think he may have asked this question before we showed, but yes, you can preview all the training. Do we know the format of the training?
So we use a software program called Articulate.
And it's just an MP4?
I don't think that I don't know that it is an MP4. I don't know what, yeah.
Okay, another question about if you can add custom forms or custom training to be added. Yes, you can do that. Is it capable of linking to training via a hyperlink?
No, from an assignment standpoint, we can't assign a hyperlink. we would need the content. So if it's something that you have a hyperlink for, we need the actual file.
Yeah, that's an interesting question though.
It
I
is,
guess
yeah.
about maybe including the training, a link to the training in an email or something. But if that is what you were trying to solve for, then we do send the emails out and they can click in the email to get into their, to access their driver pulse. If they're on their phone and they click the email, it will open up driver pulse, if, through that way. So we have solved that problem if that's the problem you're looking to solve. Okay, there's a few questions about what the cost is to add the CSA and the training, and that's just going to vary. That's just going to depend on it's going to be on a per client basis. So I would just recommend calling your advisor, or if you don't know who your advisor is, you can contact the number down here on the screen, 877-219-9283, or just email sales, and we'll get you to the right place and we'll get you quoted. But I can say it's very affordable.
Yes.
How long are the courses?
So the courses range in time. The average length of the courses are about 7 minutes. Some are as short as 2 minutes and some are as long as 20 minutes, but average is 7.
And that's good, just because, I mean, it will save your progress, but it's also just really good to keep those short so the driver, stays engaged. Does all the training work well from the mobile app? Great question.
Yeah, it is a great question. And honestly, I mean, that is one of the things I love most about this content is that our developers built it to operate mobile first. So yes, it works just as well on your phone as it does on your desktop.
Yeah, they spend a lot of time doing that too, to make sure that it's the best experience is from the mobile device. Let's see. Where are we getting our training videos and how often will they update? Will the carrier have to manually change their training modules to remove the old and add new ones when things change?
Okay, no, those are great questions. So yeah, we are actually creating our training content in-house, and we are updating like hours of service, for example. As those rules change, then we will update that, and so we will roll it so where the new content is up in your dashboard. You will not have to do that manually. And so we're developing our library, and we do plan to review each title likely annually to make sure there's any updates. But of course, if there's any type of regulation update, then we will update that immediately.
Yes, that was a smart question. Mm-hmm. That was a good question to ask. Yeah, it's automatic. You don't have to do anything extra, like Marilyn said. How are existing drivers who are not in 10th Street able to get onto Pulse?
So what's interesting is Pulse, a driver can have Pulse even if they're not in your 10th Street dashboard, but they will have to be in your 10th Street dashboard if you want to be able to assign them training. But the driver can have driver Pulse on their own. They just need to go to the App Store and download the app, and they can then log into Pulse and complete the training on their own. But if you want to assign it to them, they will have to be in your dashboard. But you can work with your account manager to get any drivers that are on your fleet that aren't in 10th Street uploaded into the dashboard.
Thank you for that. And then here's a question about workflow. Can we create a workflow that doesn't allow a driver to start or change in service unless an orientation bundle training, for example, is completed? And that's just a workflow question. That's an automation. So the answer is yes, you would just build a checklist, and the checklist would have to be complete before the driver could do the next thing, for example. So that's just some automation, custom automation, which we can do. You would just want to contact your account manager with that. Okay, another question about if the training modules are in 10th Street, can they introduce their own? And you definitely can. You can add your own, any kind of your company training or other training integrations that you have. We can put those in there as well. Third-party vendors, yes.
Mhm.
Okay. I think I got most of them. You know, where if we didn't get to you, then we will definitely, I'm going to review these when we finish, but I think I covered almost every one of them. These were great questions. I'm so glad that you guys were able to ask them. If we didn't answer them, or if we tried to answer them and we were wrong, we didn't get what you were trying to ask, you know, please do write us or contact your account manager or salesperson, and we can get you clarification. If you think of any after the call, absolutely write in as well, and we will be happy to answer those too. So I think we're at the top of the hour pretty much here. So go ahead, Marilyn.
I was just going to say, one person in here is asking me to show how to assign individual training again. So when we're finished, if you want to just pass me back control, I'll show that for you, Roddy, and anybody who's done can go.
Yeah, let me go ahead and pass that over.
Yeah.
I missed that one. Marilyn. Okay, you've got control again.
Thank you. So this was asking how to assign training to an individual. So we're going to go back to our work list.
It looks like, Marilyn, your audio is out again. But she's trying to say, you know, you go and you select the scheduled course class and you select the training one that you want to apply.
Finish.
And then you click finish. Here, she's back.
Yeah, click finish. And it's just that, it's that simple to apply. And that's the process to assign anything to a driver. So if you want to request something, you're going to add a process. So thanks, Leah.
And
Thanks
can
for
you
bringing
do the
that.
CSA tool also, Marilyn, just while you're in here, can you just show where you find that again?
Yeah.
I think somebody asked that.
Yeah, great. So I want to go home for you, because what is new now is that you can actually make the safety management view, this view right here, your homepage. So if you're a recruiter, you don't want this to be your homepage, right? But if you're a safety guy then or gal, then you might likely want this to be your homepage. And so you do have the ability to do that. But if not, you're just going to select safety management. It's pinned up here on the top. And then you are here in CSA. And so from here, you can click to the different places. So CSA activity, you can click into your CSA tools, and really all of your safety management right here from this dashboard. So from your DQF missing and expired, you click refresh here, you're able to see, you know, the status of documents, missing and expired documents. You're able to bulk run MVRs from here. So all of your safety management here in this tool.
Right, and if you don't have this turned on, if you have not subscribed to our CSA service yet, it will, if you go to safety management, it will actually have a pop-up that asks you if you would like to subscribe, and then you can kind of get the process started that way. Just a real easy way to start opting in.
Right, that's
Okay.
Great. Yeah,
okay,
well, thank you guys.
Yeah, thanks everybody.
Yeah,
You've been very, I'm again glad that you joined us, and thanks for staying with us the whole hour. And we will be sending you a recording of this in 24 hours. So you can expect that in your inbox. Thanks, Marilyn, so much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.